Hey guys, how you doing? Hope you're doing okay. I'm going to read through pretty much the full article here. There's a link in the description. I'm going to give you another very severe trigger warning. Not only is this whole subject extremely troubling, it's in regards to the murder of a young baby boy, 64 days old, at the hands of the father, the scumbag that you see in front of you. His name is Marlin Williams Jr. So not only is the general subject matter pretty horrendous, but there are details that I will be reading through pertaining the injuries suffered, the horrific injuries suffered by this 64-year-old baby boy. So this is one of the most troubling cases that I've come across. Having said that, this is the third case of a baby being murdered at the hands of the father that I've read through in the last 2 hours. And it's unfortunately extremely similar to at least one of the others. The injuries sustained are extremely similar. Shockingly so. This type of situation should be extremely rare, but nope. It's not. I've made literally 3 videos about very similar topics in the last hour and a half. These are all articles which have been published today or yesterday. Seemingly there are a lot of cases like this out there, extremely troubling. So we're going to have a look through the details. As I say, this is the scumbag father who, by the way, pleaded guilty. He's been charged with, he's been sentenced with, hang on. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder in Marrell's, the baby boy's, killing, and 3 counts of aggravated battery for abusing his infant twins. So second-degree murder, and he's been sentenced to 26 years. It's not enough. Or a little more than 26 years. Not enough. So we're going to read through the details. At just 64 days old, Marlin Williams, and please forgive me if I pronounce his name incorrectly, it's not intentional, Marlin Williams, the baby boy, was killed by his father, this absolute evil scumbag, who's been incarcerated for a little over 26 years, and none of us are happy with that. That's way too light. Why isn't it life? And we just hope that the other inmates in whichever facility he's housed in have an opportunity to regularly have a chat with this guy. 405 pounds, 6'2" guy. But let's hope a group of them can regularly have a little chat with this guy about his mistreatment of his infant twins, the abuse of his infant twins, plural, and the death of one of those twins, the baby boy, Marlin. Let's hope that the other inmates can have a regular chat with this scumbag and express how they feel about that, you know, what they feel. Perhaps they would like to say a few words, a few choice words. So Marlin Williams died at the age of 64 days. His mother was at work at the time. The mother is called Katie Clark. And she's destroyed. She's broken. Seemingly, according to this article, she was in no way involved with or aware of the abuse. And she's destroyed. Her baby boy has been killed. Her other child, Maryl's twin sister, was also severely abused. Thankfully, she survived. So the article says, like her brother, Maryl's twin sister also endured assaults for perhaps weeks at their scumbag father's hands, including a broken leg that authorities think likely was caused by a forceful bend or pull. She has survived, and she's now 2 years of age. So there's a blessing. There's a blessing. Such a shame that we have to say that the survival of a baby girl is a blessing. You know, I think you understand my meaning. And I'm going to point out something that a commentator pointed out to me a few weeks back, and that is that it's not easy to break bones of infants. It's not easy. It takes a very large amount of force to do so. Baby bones are significantly more flexible than adult bones, and a lot less prone to breaking. So for Maryl's twin sister to have suffered a broken leg, again, that would have taken quite some force. I'm going to put in play the trigger warning that I mentioned before. The details I'm about to read through are absolutely horrific, absolutely disgusting. They are heartbreaking, okay? So if you are in any way sensitive to this type of topic, then you may not want to listen, or abandon as soon as you feel it appropriate to do so. In the most violent assault Marl suffered on January the 10th, 2020, this absolute horrifically psychotic CUNT father, Marlin Williams Jr, squeezed the baby boy's head so hard between his arm and chest that it displaced and fractured the baby's skull and caused a brain bleed. The scumbag father then walked away to play a video game. He didn't check on the baby for 10 to 20 minutes. By the way, he's 405 pounds, 6 foot tall. A giant. A friend eventually told him to call 911. The scumbag father told police that he was angry and frustrated that Marl and his other 3 young children were crying. That's his justification. And I've heard this before in other articles, similar cases. The father's justification for attacking, assaulting their babies, not even just fathers, mothers too, their justification for attacking their babies has frequently been because they were crying, because they soiled themselves. By the time doctors saw Marl, he was irreversibly broken from his head to his toe. Thankfully, this scumbag has been sentenced to prison, but we are not happy with the sentence. A little more than 26 years. Not enough. Why can't this guy get life? I would be absolutely disgusted if this guy has the opportunity for parole. The baby died 6 days after the final assault, and the mother watched over him at the hospital. Here's a quote from the mother, Katie Clark. "Nothing on him was not hurt. I watched him for a week before I had to make the decision to do what I did to take him off of life support. And that lives with me every day. He didn't get a choice on how he lived his life." The mother said, "Fathers don't do this. The father was supposed to love him like I did. I don't really think that he should see outside ever again. That was our son, and he's now in a grave." So to me, the mother, I say this with all due respect, but she's broken. She's shattered. She's devastated. You know, her faith in life is gone, I would imagine. And I pray for her. I hope that she is able to get through this. She's not going to be able to fully. She's always going to have this very, very dark cloud over her every moment of every day in all likelihood. But hopefully from time to time a few rays of light shine through. Hopefully she has loved ones to be with her. She has Meryl's twin sister to take care for, to be strong for. So I know there's going to be just unimaginable levels of sadness within this mother, within this woman, Katie Clark, which we feel so sorry for, but we hope that she is able to pull through, and that you know, as I say, that happiness once again creeps into her life, hopefully through Meryl's twin sister. The scumbag father pleaded guilty to 1 count of second-degree murder in Meryl's killing and 3 counts of aggravated battery for abusing his infant twins. He sat motionless whilst the mother spoke during his sentencing hearing. The lawyer said that he took full responsibility for the death and abuse, but claimed a traumatic upbringing and mental health issues influenced his actions. The scumbag father apologized and conceded that he had let the mother and his children down. He said, "I am not a monster. I am a great person. My heart is as big as this jail. I just want everybody to forgive me for what I did." The comments drew more heavy sobbing from Katie Clark, the mother, who hunched over and heaved silently from the courtroom gallery, her face buried in her hands, as the scumbag father addressed the judge. I don't blame the mother at all. I'm going to comment here. This is going to be a nonsense rant for a minute or two. This scumbag father who killed his 64-day-old son, who abused his twin sister, broke his twin sister's leg, he literally, forgive me, but he literally crushed the skull of his 64-day-old baby boy, purposefully crushed his skull. And he wants to sit there in court, in front of the mother, in front of everybody, and say that he's not a monster. He's a monster. He is a monster. He is not a great person. His heart is not as big as this jail. And by the way, you will be filling that jail. I want everybody to forgive you for what you did. Well, fuck you. You're not going to be forgiven, you fucking scumbag piece of shit. I'm getting angry at this. I really... When I see bad behavior out there in the world, in real life or online, a lot of my time is spent online, I see bad behavior, not to this extent, quite obviously. But everyone wants to be forgiven. Oh, it's in the past. Oh, it's in the past. I'm not going to do it again. Yeah, you're not going to do it again because you're going to be incarcerated. You're not going to have the opportunity to do it again. What he did was, I don't need to tell you this, I'm preaching to the converted, as it were, but his actions were absolutely monstrous. He's absolutely a monster. No normal human purposefully crushes the skull of a baby infant. That's not normal. And this guy seems to think that this is a forgivable action. I don't like the concept of forgiveness. I'm not a fan of forgiveness. I do feel that forgiveness has its part. There are times when forgiveness is wonderful. If it can relieve feelings of hurt feelings and resentment and such on the side of the victim or the person that's been wronged, if forgiveness can relieve that, if it can enable relationships to be rekindled, forgiveness has its part to play in society. But it, to me, and I'm a Christian, by the way, or rather I was raised Christian, to me, I've always had trouble with the notion of forgiveness. And maybe that's not even true. At some point I had issues with the concept of forgiveness. At some point, I realized that forgiveness is something that people can and do abuse. This expectation of forgiveness. Well, if you don't forgive, then you're the bad person. No, mate. You did the wrong thing. Whatever that happened to be, could have been a trivial matter, it could be an extremely heinous matter. You did the wrong thing. You don't deserve automatic forgiveness. You cannot expect automatic forgiveness, especially from those you directly did wrong. For me personally, I'm a good person. Am I a perfect person? No, of course not. None of us are perfect. But I'm a good person. I have done very few bad things in my life. Very, very few. Some, sure. And even what I've done hasn't been that bad at all, basically. I don't want to be, I don't know, judged to the same standard as these people that continually do bad things and or do incredibly heinous things. Yeah, this forgiveness, this leveling of the playing field. Oh, that was in the past, no worries. We're all the same. No, we're not all the same. Some of us do good, some of us do bad. Forgiveness is a flawed concept. Or rather, this belief that forgiveness is always beneficial, ought to always be a factor, or, you know, that's flawed. That's flawed thinking. Forgiveness should really be withheld. If forgiveness ought to be earned. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm not going to say nonsense thoughts, but those are my thoughts on forgiveness. And, you know, it just angers me that this guy, he seems to think that because this happened in the past, he seems to think that his belief that he's a good person is somehow right. Are you fucking... I'm going to use words which some of you won't like. I'm going to say low IQ. I'm going to say low IQ because the R word isn't welcome nowadays. How low IQ, how twisted, how deluded does this guy have to be to think that he's anything other than a monster? You killed your 64-year-old son, you fucking sick. See you next Tuesday. You're a monster. How can you not realize that? How can this guy be remorseful if he doesn't realize he's a monster? He's apologizing for what? Because he wants to be forgiven. That's it. Like, he said it. He's verbalized it. This is what most people do. They apologize. Do they apologize because they're sorry? No. Do they apologize because they genuinely understand what they've done wrong? No, not necessarily. They're apologizing because they don't want to be held accountable. They're apologizing because they want to be forgiven. By forgiven, they mean they want for this subject, whatever crime or misdemeanor, misbehavior they're guilty of, they just want it to be overlooked. You want us to overlook your murder of your 64-year-old son, you fucking weirdo. I really do hope that during this 26 years that this guy ought to be incarcerated for, and by the way, that's not long enough, but I say ought to just in case there is the potential for parole. 26 years is way too light. There's no mention of parole in this article. If there is parole, I'm going to be extremely disgusted. But yeah, I really do hope that the other inmates get to have a little chat with this guy about forgiveness, the topic of forgiveness, whether or not they forgive this guy for crushing the skull of his 64-day-old baby boy. What are your fellow inmates going to think of that? Are they going to forgive you? Perhaps they will, perhaps they won't. If they do, well, that's great. Maybe you can enjoy a nice drink of orange juice or whatever it is you have in prison. If they don't forgive you, well, maybe they want to have a bit more of a discussion with you about the subject. I'm going to wrap things up here. As I say, this is an awful, terrible subject, and I mean, I'll say apologies for reading through the details to some extent. I don't, being a bit ironic here, I guess, a bit hypocritical perhaps. I'm not really apologizing. I think it's important to read through these details, as horrific as they are. It gives us some kind of level of understanding as to what depravity these scumbags sink to. Crushing a fucking infant skull. I mean, to me, this is like hard to fathom. I couldn't have guessed that that's what these child murderers do. I couldn't have guessed that. That is like so immensely sick. But again, this is the third topic I've made, the third video I've made about this topic in the last hour and a half, and another one of the other two, also crushed the skull of an infant, 6-week-old. So I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you for listening, and if you haven't listened all the way through, I don't blame you, man. Like, this is emotionally damaging, emotionally hurtful topics we're going through, and I'll let you know, it's influencing me. I have been trying to make multiple videos every single day. I don't think I can stick to that promise. It's influencing me too much. I will be trying to make multiple videos every week, but I think I have to take breaks. I have to take breaks because it just gives you this heavy-headedness. I think it is emotional hurt, so I need to take a break from it every now and then. Having said that, I will be trying my best to pump out multiple videos every week, so if you do see value in this type of content, please do give me some encouragement, like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit, and stay safe out there, guys. Avoid this kind of scumbag. If you have this kind of scumbag in your life, do what you can to get the fuck away from them, get your children away from them. And I'll wrap things up there. Thank you.